been on a bit of a hiatus here. Got started with the YouTube channel and really just had some family events come up, which is why I'm back in Ohio. I said that I wouldn't purchase any more motorcycles in Ohio, and this one was too good to pass up. I went to high school reunion, which again, I'm not normally one to do, and someone mentioned they had this in the basement. It had been in their grandfather's basement for majority of its life, 30-40 years, and asked if I'd be interested in it. And first I wasn't sure, saw some pictures and very interested. We've got 3,500 original miles, almost no rust. I was told it ran about a year ago, so I'm going to try and get it fired up, and we'll try and make it a daily. I am very excited about these small displacement 4-cylinders. Just something, absolutely adorable. I'd say the adorable meter is off the chart with this one. So, original tires, original brakes, original brake fluid, I believe even. The previous owner said they redid the head, that it was leaking oil. You can see some evidence of that here. And check the cam chain and tensioner, and it looked okay, so we'll double check some of that. But again, very excited, very pleased with this find, and I'm hoping to get some smiles out of it.
Having this bike fall into my lap, I must admit I'd never heard of or even seen a CB400F. My initial assumption was that it was something much less desirable, and only after seeing the waterfall pipes did I really come to understand that the universe might be offering me an olive branch. There are two versions of the CB400F, the F1 and the F2. Our specimen is the F2, which came with minor changes, notably taller handlebars, more forward set foot pegs, a gas tank with some new graphics, and a gas cap cover. Those changes were supposed to boost low sales in the United States, though the bikes really never caught on here. Americans weren't willing to pay more for less power and less comfort. In Europe and in Japan, they seem to still be quite popular, and parts are easy to come by as a result, thankfully. This bike is based off of the CB350F, Soichiro Honda's favorite bike. And from my experience with older Japanese bikes, this 400 seems to be built with a bit more care. Painted rocker box and valve cover, a positive snick when putting it into gear, and just generally a solid feel that I didn't have with some of my other older Japanese bikes. I'd always been fond of the 350F, thinking how neat it was that Honda had built a tiny 4-cylinder when they were already building a 350 twin. It just made no sense on paper. With the 400F in hand, I think I get it. I find myself sneaking out to the garage just to take a second look, amazed at how cool the 4-into-1 pipes look, not realizing that the Neo Sport Cafe CB650F, the, new one that you can still buy today, I was really fawning over that bike, and I didn't realize it was based on this 400F. So let's find out what it takes to get this bike reliable and back into carving corners.
So the first order of business is going to be, what do we need to do to get it started? My rule is typically take a look at the bike and see if it runs. I don't want to spend a whole lot of money until I know that it runs. I am reasonably confident that it runs. I was told that, a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was doing 100 miles an hour. I'm inclined to believe that. It's pretty clean. The previous owner had indicated that it was leaking oil and needed new O-rings for the oil pump or the oil squirters, and he removed the head, put a new head gasket and new O-rings on the bike. I can see evidence of oil leak, which is not crazy uncommon on these bikes. I will need to probably double check the cam chain tensioner, make sure that everything's in order there, and I will need to rebuild these front brakes as they seem to be sticking a bit. And even if they weren't sticking, we really probably would want to rebuild them anyway. They are very old. The chain looks okay. We'll take a closer look at that. May replace it just for good measure. The carbs appear to be sticking, so if I pull on the throttle, there is some action, but it seems as if it's stuck. The spark plugs look new. I'm sure he replaced those. Can't imagine that he would replace the head gasket and not replace those. I did check the oil level, and of course it has oil in it, and it looks to be relatively new. The problem I see with the oil is that it appears to be overfilled, and it smells like varnish. So I could be going crazy there, but little worried about that. Generally not something that we want to find when we're working on these bikes. It's not the end of the world, but I don't want to run it that way, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. The pipes look generally pretty good, excuse me. The paint is wonderful. There's some scuffing, but nothing that won't polish out real easy. There's one little dent. We started to pull that out and didn't quite get there, but we were on a deadline for getting the bike back on the trailer and getting it titled. The fuel tank, can't see too good in there probably, but it's immaculate. It's wonderful. The gas smells old, but it doesn't smell varnished, so I'm pretty happy with that. Another thing that we like to see, the gauges aren't faded or anything. If I plug the key in here, I don't know, I've never worked on a Honda with an oil light. This is probably the fanciest vintage Honda that I've worked with, but we should have turn signals. We have a brake light, and I don't know if you can see it, but we have a head beam, high beam, low beam. All of the lights work. The horn works. Everything seems to work. I'm just floored by it, really. And show you guys. Got the little cover for the key lock here. I don't think I've ever seen this before. I assume it's factory, and I've just never had a bike nice enough to have that. I'll be very careful with these covers because they are immaculate. It's crazy. I was charging this battery earlier. It's not the battery that goes with this bike, but it's free and it's got a charge, and we can kick the bike over, and that's really, you know, all I can ask for right now. So I'm going to take the bike apart and try to get an inventory of things that we might need to replace, you know, off the bat. So things like air filter. We're going to put new brake lines on it. We're going to put new brake, you know, rebuild the brake caliper. That's something else. The brake master cylinder, I've never seen one on a Honda like this before. There's no corrosion. You'll have to pardon the lights here, but it just looks, it's brand new. It's crazy. I love these. I'm not going to say the name that I've heard them called, but these grips are awesome too. I love them. They're kind of squishy. I just, you know, not something that I initially planned on buying, but it's too good. It's too good. I expect the pipes will clean up. Most of the chrome will clean up pretty good. I don't have any of my regular tools with me, so we'll just kind of have to go about it as we can with what we've got. I'm going to take some of this stuff home with me, but I'm working on the Honda XL project as well, so I don't want to detract from that too much. I'd like to stay on track with it, but I'm very excited about this bike. If you can't see this, I'll bring you in. There's no rust on this seat. It looks brand new. He gave me the factory service manual. I'm not sure why these are taped, but not terribly worried about it. It looks like the original connectors are there. It all seems to work. This looks like the original toolkit. What all do we have in here? What is that? Plastic polish. That is crazy. That's wild. Some kind of Honda. No way. I've never seen one of these before. Oh, that's just too cool. No information. Oh, I love these little drawings. That's pretty neat. I don't think there's anything in here, but oh, hold on a second here. That's cool. Back in the day. So I'm from Springfield, Ohio, and I actually swapped the title there on Bechtel Avenue. I, don't believe this Honda dealership has been around for a long time, but man, this is a cool find. This is so cool. Let's see what's in this paperwork here. Cover up the name here, but here's the original invoice. That is, I'm pretty excited about that. That's awesome. This is for the temporary plate. That's neat. I've never seen paperwork this old and this crisp. Okay, so I've got a little excited there. This bike is very original, and it's pretty cool to find some of the original paperwork in here. I've taken it out because I'm going to take some pictures of it and probably put it somewhere for safekeeping. I also have the original factory manual that was in here. He took that out and put it in a bag, so it feels like the right thing to do at this point. This is, it's showing some signs of wear, but the fact that it's there at all is pretty exciting. And we'll have to carefully pull on this bike a little bit, but I'd like to get to the carbs and check the air filter. I assume it needs a new air filter, but that's probably what we're going to do here. We're going to just go into burn mode a little bit. You'll watch me take care of it, get to work. A little nervous about this stand, but you'll have that. see the easiest way to get this off. Yeah. I want to be careful with this one. This is the nicest old bike I've worked on in a while. Well, that's one way to get the hose off. It just comes apart. Get you folks in here so you can see. Again, I don't think these carburetors are opening all the way. Probably slides are stuck would be my guess. Coils look in great shape. I'm sure they're fine. So we'll try and get these carburetors out and take a look and get some work done on them. Assume this is the original air box. Oh, original air filter probably too. And definitely gonna want to replace that girl. Oh yeah. I mean, she'll be fine to start, but you know, probably not something that we want long term. It just occurred to me that I don't have any 10mm wrenches, and I'm working in my father's garage, which means that it may be difficult to find any 10mm. I'm actually going to use the factory toolkit here, simply because I don't have anything else. We're going to take a look at the factory toolkit. So I'm not working in my regular garage. This is my father's garage. And there are not very many metric tools here. I purchased a toolkit for my mother, and it has metric. Unfortunately, it does not have any wrenches, only sockets. So I'm going to take a look at this factory toolkit. I figure everybody would like that too. It's immaculate. I'd be shocked if I'm not the first person to open it, actually. Incredible. That only took 5,000 million years. Son of a gun. Oh, come on. Finally. Man, these things look gummed up. They turn, but there's some shmoo in there. They're all a little bit different, but it's pretty sticky, pretty gummy. And if you try to open these, they kind of want to open. So I do not have my JIS screwdriver, so I'm going to be very careful here. If it seems like it's gonna go, then I'm gonna just leave it. Oh, that's great. We got all kinds of fuel pouring out on the floor. Lovely. I guess it's gotta go somewhere, doesn't it? Gonna smell like varnish in here for weeks. That's my fault, so you'll have that on these jobs. I'll bring you in here, and we're gonna call it an evening. So, some of these standpipes are pretty roached. Surprisingly, I think this is ethanol. I know all the old farts like to say about how bad ethanol is, but I don't know. I'll blame ethanol here. This one just nasty. So, get to work in the morning, get them cleaned up, and see if we can fire it off. Off camera, I blew some air through these. Couldn't get them clean. I didn't have a needle of the right caliber, if you will. Should do the trick. I really just want to have this run for a few minutes and we'll call her good. I was told the Petcock doesn't work on reserve. I need to get the old gas out of it, so we're just going to pull it off and take a look, see what's up, and put some fresh gas in. I'm less familiar with these bikes, but usually Hondas are rebuildable. I don't know. I think he would have told me, but the rivets are not reassuring necessarily. A little goopy in there. Looks like the filter straw is stuck. And it's going to be a pain to remove. I'm almost afraid to remove that. Well, it's getting water out on the reserve, or we're getting fuel back the other direction anyway. Let's see what happens on the on. It seems like it works. I don't know. Petcock's back on. Now we need to put the wrong battery back in. So I've got this free battery that I got here, which is ironically the same size as what I'm using for my log splitter, which we may swap this out, return that one. But anyway, we'll get that on. I'm debating whether I want the air cleaner on it because I'm probably going to want to take it for a ride. And this front brake is dragging. I think might be able to adjust that here. It's not locked up. It needs to be rebuilt, obviously, but it's not locked up. So thinking maybe, you know, we try that before we get it moving. But it's getting dark and I'd like to give it a good rip while I've got some light. All right. Is that gonna hold? Yeah, we'll just pinch it with our leg. That's assuming it runs. We gotta get it running first. You all will get the first run, and Instagram will get the fake one. Let the carbs fill up for a second here, get some stuff out of the way in case it does want to go. So it appears the neutral light may not work. Of all the things on this bike, seem to be working fine. The electric's all generally pretty good, not the neutral light. So we're going to try and crank this over a few times with the ignition off, and then we're going to try it with the ignition on. Get a little bit of oil pumping in the event that there isn't much up top. I'm sure there is because he was cranking on it, but it's my policy. It turns over quick and the oil pressure light is gone. So here we go. Oh, we're leaking fuel like crazy. Looks like our right carb is leaking pretty bad. Pretty not good. Let's see what happens. We leaking any more fuel? I can't tell. The other day we got this running, and I wanted to move it along at a little bit faster pace, but life kind of gets in the way. This is certainly a side project given all the other things going on. The day we got it running, it was running really well. I was surprised at how well it was running, given, you know, the carbs were very dirty. I did clean them, but really just enough to kind of see if it'd fire up. The next day, they weren't running quite so well. We dropped 2 cylinders, and then they were flooding, and, you know, left the gas on for a little while and found a puddle underneath of the bike. So they're in pretty rough shape. The jets are pitted, and I need to just go through them the appropriate way and rebuild it. With that said, I found some other issues on the bike, and one that I'm not super happy about, but is what it is. You can see here we've got quite a bit of oil, and the previous owner had stated that he did in fact put a new head gasket on there, and you can see the mating surface is pretty clean. But something else that we can see is just that it's a little bit wet, and I'm not sure if the head is warped. It, you know, given what I've seen online, it really, I think that these bikes just kind of leak like that. There's a lot of pressure on that surface, and it pushes past the rubber O-rings in there. And, you know, it's a 70s bike, 70s design. There are some head gaskets that are offered from WeBike in Japan, or rather there's, you know, somebody that sells them and WeBike resells them. But anyway, we'll have the opportunity to hopefully put a reinforced gasket on here. We'll check the head for flatness. And the other order of business really is this brake caliper. So the brake kind of works. It drags, which is concerning. That's definitely a safety issue, and you know, it's very old and it really needs to be rebuilt. I've considered rebuilding these wheels as well. They're pretty rusty, pretty crusty, but before we start anything sort of cosmetic, I really want to get in and you know, just get the bike solid first. So we'll probably put some tires on it, you know, do the necessities first, and I'm hoping that I don't find any surprises when I take the head off of this bike, but we shall see. Again, we're gonna pull the head, we're gonna pull the brake caliper, and we're gonna pull the brake master cylinder, and just give both of those a rebuild. There's the carburetors obviously will get rebuilt as well. A little bit intimidated by those just because I have limited experience with a bank of 4 carburetors, and certainly can be frustrating just working on 1 or 2 carburetors. So kind of see how that goes, but you know, we'll keep you folks posted.